Everybody review last month's minutes?
Yep.
Is the motion to accept, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. And the first thing is, we want to talk to the architect about, no, estimated service.
Actually, Mr. Chair, would you be willing to have one thing before that?
Go ahead.
Just housekeeping, because I was asked to find out about from the last minutes, the public records access if you use your own email. I followed up with the town administrator, and if folks would like it by email, we can establish Gmail accounts for free for each person. That way it wouldn't be subject to the records law, so we could set up a Google account for each one of you, and then they wouldn't have access to your private emails.
The easiest way to get a hold of me is by telephone. I very rarely read my emails.
Well, I'm just saying to send all this paper, if you want it by hard copy, that's fine, but some people actually would prefer it by email, so. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, I'd be happy to set up a Google Gmail account for you, if that's what you'd like to do. I'm just throwing
Who
it out
wants
there.
hard copy, who wants Gmail?
Gmail, you can make your own hard copies.
Hard copy.
You want
Well,
hard
you have
copy?
a work email.
Alright,
Hard
let's
copy.
get Dookie, wait a minute, let me write this down, Dookie,
This is for a Gmail account?
no, hard copy.
Hard copy.
Anybody else want hard copy?
Well, if you want a hard copy, you want email.
No, I want the hard copy.
Willie, Myron?
He's hard copy.
Third time I've been asked.
Gary?
You just sent it to my work email.
Emails for him.
I'll do email.
Okay.
Hard copy.
Paul? Gmail?
Email.
No, Gmail.
Do you want me to set up a private account for you, or do you not care what people look at on your?
Because your computer becomes
You're
public.
not gonna find anything.
Hey,
That's how I know.
what about all the porn you got on there?
No.
No?
They may,
That's separate.
they may enjoy it.
Great, alright.
Come on, you gotta get quick with the answer.
Joyce, and you're on Gmail?
No, email.
Yeah, I'll
Email.
just send it to
Okay.
Just my regular account.
Alright, that's all set.
I'm open for the public. I ain't got nothing to hide.
Alright,
What about you? How do you want it?
I don't, you can do Gmail because I got email,
So you're good with that?
you know, and I'll just get the rest of our copies to get those.
Okay.
Okay,
I did my homework.
we had a proposal from the OPM on estimated services, and the amount of the low bid was $20,000?
$20,600, yeah.
Right. I guess we could have you explain in detail what the hell that thing's about, okay?
Yeah, so during the RFQ process when we were going, interviewing designers and whatnot, we created the project budget. One of the budget line items was an estimating services budget line item procured by the owner, Town of Hadley. The budget line item we had covered was $25,000. We had that as a budget line item because every project we do, we set it up such that the architect has their own estimator per their contract with the town, and we set up the owner having their own estimator, so that 4 times through the design process, schematic design, design development, and then 2 times during construction documents, we have an estimating phase where the drawings and specs get sent to those 2 estimators. Those 2 estimators do separate their own estimates, and then we get the estimates, and then we meet and we reconcile the estimates. Why is this one at this number, this one's at that number, and we come to an agreement as to what the estimate of the project is based off of that drawings and specs at that time. We do that again 4 times during design, and what that does is it sets us up the best way we can to ensure once we get the bid, we're not going to get the bids and be over budget. Because if we get the bids and we're over budget, then we have to go back to the drawing board, and we're losing time. And when you lose time, escalation occurs, and then next thing you know, you go back out to bid, and maybe the job that you thought was going to be X amount of dollars, now it's Y amount of dollars. So it's essentially an insurance policy for the town to make sure when we go to bid, we're under budget.
So,
Wait a minute. Okay. Dickie, go ahead. Any questions?
yeah, it seems to me it's almost like the Emperor's New Clothes.
Talk
story.
about it so they can hear on the TV.
It's like the Emperor's New Clothes to me. If the guy bids the job for a certain amount of money, and it's over the bid, when it comes into final decision, he should be responsible for that. If he's trying to get more money out of it, it doesn't seem right to me that if you bid the job, you stand by your bid.
Right, so if a general contractor bids the job,
Yeah.
and their bid is, and say there's 4 GCs that bid it, and the lowest bid on all 4 Gs is a number that's greater than what the town has allotted us to do this project, then we're not gonna execute a contract with them, because we don't have the money to execute a contract with them. You know,
Then they put a bid on the table?
no, not there yet.
Not there yet? Okay. Proceed.
So I guess,
Well, that's-
I think what he's
That's my
asking,
answer to your question.
I got it.
Okay.
Anybody other questions?
So in essence, it's a safeguard to check both of you people.
Well,
In essence.
yeah, well, I mean, it's a safeguard.
It's
I mean,
checks and
well,
It's basically two minds, basically two estimating minds
Mm-hmm.
coming together. One person may see it one way, another person sees it another way. It's very common. And when they get together, they can get to a consensus. And that consensus is a stronger estimate, basically.
I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Dukevitz. You're gonna look over the bids, and so isn't the OPM. You're gonna analyze them, and then you're gonna put your heads together if you find something wrong. Why do we need a third party in there?
This is before.
An additional cost.
This is
He's
before the
jumping the
bids.
gun.
No, yeah.
He's-
These estimating services are during design.
Or before the contract.
Before we go
This is before we go, the
Okay.
drawings hit the streets and we're asking GCs to bid the job. This is before that. And the reason why you do it before that, so when you hit the streets with the drawings and you get GC bids, we're hoping that the GC bids come in under budget. So in the event we have 4 alternates, one's this, one's that, one's that, we can potentially take the first alternate or the first 2 alternates. That's the reason for the estimating process. When these guys are doing drawings and specs and we're reviewing them during design, that's not us estimating. The industry of estimating construction documents is it's its own little beast, and that's not what we do. You hire estimators to do that. They know the cost of building now. They know the ins and outs of building. They do for a living.
John, are these guys bonded?
What's that?
Are the estimate, these people who review the estimates, are they bonded?
I mean, they hold.
I think they fall within the
in
contract
insurance.
of the person. Their contract, for instance, our estimator's contracted to Caleb Enoch, your estimator's contracted to you, so in a sense, they come underneath our insurance or Collier's insurance.
Well, the owner's estimate is through the town of Hadley.
Oh, directly to you, I'm sorry. Apologies.
Let me ask the architect, over the last year, your estimates, did they come in on target or are they all up and down and whatever?
Came reasonably close, yes.
The what?
They came reasonably close, yes.
Reasonably close.
Reasonably
Are we-
over
are
or
we-
reasonably under?
Mostly under, some over, but overall, I'd say, if you, probably a little bit under.
Okay, are we gonna show a savings of $20,000 or $40,000, or is this just a break-even deal if we do this? And if we're supposedly, what we got out of the last meeting kinda short, I am very kinda hesitant of spending this kind of money, $20,000, just because it's in our budget, but do we have enough in our budget to everything we possibly need in this fire station?
Well, I mean, at last meeting, we talked about creating alternates, so that right there tells you that it's tight. And when you have to create alternates, that tells you right there, there's a financial concern, and potentially you may get one of the alternates, you may get none of the alternates. So when you ask the question of, all right, so if we don't go with this owner estimator, okay, so that's $20,000 we can, move around. Yeah, that's reality, but it's kind of playing, you're rolling the dice.
But the estimator is a person that's going to make sure that you are near what you should be near and the materials and things that you buy to make sure that you don't go over cost. So it's $20,000 well spent in the long run.
That's,
I wanna know what
You
kind
know.
of guarantees it.
I think it's gonna guarantee you that you're
You
going
think,
to.
I want them from them.
The only,
I've done a few buildings
the only thing that
before.
comes close to
Where?
a guarantee is in our contract, it basically says if the bids come in over our estimate, then of the options available to you, go out and get more money, do some other things. One is to tell the architect to go back, redesign it, cut something out of it so you can go back out to bid and get a bid that's within your budget. And the architect would have to do that without cost to you. Okay, so there's not much in the world that's guaranteed in our business, but that is a contract requirement that we have to live to.
so what John, let me just kind of add to that. So when John talks about,
Hey, not everybody talking here. Go ahead.
when John talks about, you know, kind of going back to the drawing board and maybe cutting something out because we're over budget. So when I talk about estimate reconciliation process, those 4 times during design, that's, so the next step after reconciling is, all right, say you have to reconcile, the number is over budget. So you do value engineering, and you guys will be in the loop on all this, and you value engineer certain parts of the design to get that design back to budget. So that's kind of the pros to, you know, the 2 estimators and doing it X amount of times during design, because you have all those opportunities to make sure you're at budget.
That's a question. How do you find these guys? Did you go out to bid for these people?
Do I go to, no, these are commercial estimators that are used on these type of projects.
Play was bid on. We had a list
Yeah, your
of
bid,
different,
you had-
they were low.
Yeah, yeah. It was, yes, an RFP
Yeah,
process,
yeah.
correct, yeah.
Ours was selected as part of a team.
So,
No one has any control over the bids. When they submit bids, no one has any control. They can estimate all they want,
Well, our
but the
control is what we put in
construction
the
companies are gonna submit the bids. And they all could be higher, we don't know. Or they all could be low.
Right, so the idea is you do everything you can to make sure you're producing drawings and specs that you feel, in our best opinion, the estimator's best opinion, they're gonna be under budget.
Well, you don't think these companies will do their homework to make sure they're under budget?
They do try. They follow the same process that an estimator for a construction company would follow. So if they're following the same process, and believe me, you get 5 general bidders bidding a project, they all don't bid within $1 of each other. They all have
I
different
understand that.
opinions of what the cost is by how they see it, where they see difficulties or not. So there is a wide variant in the bids received, but the expectation of an estimator, and on projects of this size and projects of many different sizes, they are more right than they are wrong. And that maybe that's not saying well enough, but they're usually pretty good. If not, they're not long for business.
The estimators, when they produce the documents, are they available to the bidders?
No. Is the bidder's estimate available to you?
No, the person that we're doing the estimating, we're hiring
They
for
release the same
25,
drawings that the bidders would see.
and they would give them to the bidders.
No, he said.
You know what I'm saying?
The answer to your question is no.
Are those numbers reserved for us, or do the
Yes.
bidder construction people have availability of that too? So they can bid the contract much better?
They only get the top number. They get the final number, the total construction cost. They get that because that has to be posted. It also helps them know whether or not this is a project in their size, the range, what they can afford to do. So they get to see the top number, they get to see the overall estimate number, but they don't see the details of an estimate.
So do you understand what he said? So.
In a way, but it's still confusing. If they're gonna come in at 2.9, the estimators, that's what the bidding contractors are aware of too, 2.9.
Yes.
No matter how much paperwork you produce, they're concerned with that 2.9. That's all the construction people are concerned with. What goes in, if they only see the top figure,
That's not-
everything in there is
If
irrelevant.
you're a general contractor and you're reviewing drawings and specs, and the town advertised this is the town's budget is $2.9 million, but that general contractor is reviewing drawings and specs that he feels like it's a $3.5 million job, he's not gonna underbid his number by $600,000 just to get the job. The next thing you know, he's going into that job thinking he's gonna lose his shirt because he's $600,000 short of what he really thinks it's worth. They're gonna, you know, they're gonna competitively bid, but they're not gonna get themselves out of business to chase a job.
Okay, then what do you know what's happening with the construction environment right now? Are bids coming in higher or not? The general, you know, you're bidding
Right.
these jobs every day and you're aware of what the construction is doing out there.
Not
Are they
every-
sort of on the money or are they coming in higher because there's a lot of work out there?
I'll tell you, masonry's coming in higher. The other ones are pretty good, are reasonable at this time. Right now, the nice thing about the economy is that it's fairly steady. What happens when the economy gets bumpy and you know, you don't actually know where things are going, then prices can skyrocket. 2005 was a good example. But other than that, prices have been very, very steady, and there hasn't been a lot of turmoil in the construction market. There are some trades that are getting more and more difficult because they're not graduating any more masons anymore, you know. So there are some trades that are short, men short, basically, and in demand. So when that happens, their prices get higher. But you can track that. You know if you're doing masonry, and we're not on this project, but you know those things going into it. The estimators know those things better than we do, and they track those costs. And they can reach out. They certainly have contacts in the construction market. If we're doing estimates, we would call a contractor and say, what do you think about this price versus that, or something like that. So there is communication between contractors and estimators.
So will the estimator tell you people in his own mind that if he feels he can't do it for 2.9?
Yeah, oh, he's...
So that's our
he doesn't-
safeguard there
He doesn't
then.
care about your budget. He's not looking at your budget. His basic responsibility is to estimate what he sees in front of him, regardless of what your number is. He's got to do this, and if he has to give you bad news, he has to give you bad news. But better off you deal with that now than when it's too late and the bids are already
It's like
put
a
in.
second opinion with a
Yeah,
doctor.
that I
You're going for, you
Yeah.
know, this isn't really before the bid, this is while we're designing the project, so that we don't design too much that's not
Right,
gonna
you
add
don't
to the
over-design it or
job.
under-design it.
That explained everything in the last 30 seconds.
I'm
to
telling you,
everybody.
and you know, you had something to say. Past few jobs I've done, real quick, they've come in under budget, but they've come in under budget because value engineering during the reconciliation process. Like this is a real thing. Like we're not just kind of trying to spend $20,000 of the project's money for no reason. It happens every job.
But the whole point is, we need to have an explanation, not just for us, for the general public that's watching us, why we're doing this and why it needs to be done. All right, you got comment, chief?
You clarified it finally. I was just trying to say that you're putting together a set of plans and your estimators and your backup estimator are looking at that to see if we're even in the scope.
Right,
here.
they're
And
approaching
then
it from the point of
before this
view.
even goes out to bid.
Yeah, their
So-
approach is like an estimator for a contractor, so that's the double check.
Correct.
So whether or not we are actually designing what we think, and we're not great estimators, we know roughly, but the real check and balances come when we get their numbers back.
But the whole thing is on you. You could design the Taj Mahal here, would blow this price right the hell out
Yes.
of sky.
Right.
So if you're not reasonable to start,
Right.
it's
But
not.
that would get
No.
discovered during estimates, and then they'd have to react and
And that's-
value engineer.
That's why it's nice to have a phased approach.
Oh, you
where
got any questions?
we get more estimates as we go along.
I see your points about the value of the people double checking the work, and it'll keep the project within our scope.
Right.
And like you said, if there's any glaring estimates or omissions, they'll find you.
Catch it, right.
Got it.
We
Good
had
job.
2 bids on that.
We had 2, so we solicited 3. The third, she didn't have time in her schedule to do it, so we only got 2. And the lowest was $20,600.
Is there any other question?
Did
From
the
anyone.
senior center do this?
Any comment?
They went through the same process. I've yet to get a response from them if they're gonna go with it or not.
Is there any way we can get anything reduced in this and not spend 20,000 if we spent 10,000?
Right, well, so the way they break up their proposal is based off of, how we put together the RFP. So one estimate during schematic design, 1 during DD, 2 during CDs. So if we want to say, we don't do the SD one, we just do DD in the 2 CDs. We do the DD in just 1 CD. I mean, so there's a way to lower his number. we wouldn't recommend it, but yes, there's a way to do it.
Well, let's talk about it. How would you lower that number? Just by,
So in his proposal, I don't have it in front of me, but, you know, say SD was 5,000, the one at DD was 4,500, the two CDs were, you know, 6,000 and 6,000. You know what I'm saying? So you take just three of them, you're dropping that $20,000 bid to 15,000.
do we need all that?
There's a reason why we do it 4 times during design, so my answer would be yes.
What is the reason?
So we have those 4 times during design where we're spot checking these drawings to make sure we're gonna come in under budget at bid time.
A big part of these time saving during the design process.
What's that?
Doing it 4 times, it's saving time and getting the job out to bid. If you're doing it at the end, now you have
Well,
more to redesign
Right, and
early.
right, you know, and the
later.
reason why I mentioned kinda, you know, if we wanna remove one of the items from it, you know, I said schematic design, but like you're saying, like you like to keep it the way we have it because you got the beginning check, you got the middle check, you know, as you're going, you have those checks already done. So at the end, the number isn't $500,000 over budget, and then you gotta value engineer this design that you guys have seen and loved to a point where it's like, now you don't love the design and we're going to bid in 3 weeks.
Did you just say that it's one schematic, one DD and one CD, or
2 CDs.
2 CDs?
What's the pleasure of this committee?
I say go with it.
Is there any other comment from anybody?
I'll make a motion to accept the bid for $20,600 for the estimator service.
Excuse me, I asked if there's any other comment from anybody before we vote on it. Is there any other comment?
The motion on the floor, if there's a second, then
I'll
you have
second.
further
Hey, I'm running this
discussion.
meeting.
Well,
I'll
I'm just
second
saying
that.
the protocol.
There's a motion made and there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So voted. Okay, and here we have discussion of the OPM contract. Just, could you give us some
Yeah.
of it? Okay.
So I kind of broke it down during different phases of the project. So during design, monitor the design team to ensure they're meeting the design schedule, design to budget, and fulfilling any program or design requirements that the owner set forth. Manage the owner's geotech consultant, survey consultant, site analysis consultant, and the estimator, as well as manage the project finances as it relates to the different invoicing during design. So that would be from the design team, from the surveyor, from the geotech consultant, and all those folks. Once we approach bid time, it's facilitating the bid, so, you know, helping the town post the bid, and going through the, you know, getting the drawings and specs so the contractors can grab them and estimate them. Monitor the addenda process, so, you know, once you go to bid, there's a time frame where there might be addendas issued to the drawings and specs, so we monitor that with the design team. Conduct the bid opening, and then manage the process of, once we have a GC that is the low bid and we're gonna go with, the process of, you know, setting up the owner contractor contract. Once construction starts, providing a construction rep on site to monitor construction. That's estimated in our contract with the town around 8 to 12 hours a week. So that, some weeks that could be, you know, 2.5 days, some week that could be, you know, 3 full days, maybe if it's a slow week, it's 1 day, so on. Conduct the weekly project meetings with the, you know, that would be with the architect and general contractor. Produce meeting minutes on those. Monitor and manage the change order processes as change orders occur. Manage the project finances as it relates to all the invoicing during construction. Essentially, from start to finish of the project, you know, we manage the finances of the project. Manage all the owner vendors during construction, so you're talking about utility companies that we have to coordinate with material testing agencies that will procure during construction. And then, as construction reaches the point where we're doing punch lists, you know, we'll do a punch list along with the design team. And then as we move into FF&E, so furnitures, fixtures, and equipment, manage the procurement process of that, you know, issuing RFPs to get pricing and bids for furniture, managing the install of the furniture, and then, again, managing the finances as it relates to the furniture invoicing. And then once we hit closeout time, monitor the closeout submittals, so making sure we get as-built shop drawings, making sure we got operations and maintenance manuals and all that. And then guide the owner through the warranty process, kind of step you guys through how the project specs have the warranty process written up, the right people to call when this happens, that happens, and so on.
Okay, with that being said, any other questions of the OPM?
Yes. How much is this? What's the cost of this?
Our contract,
71,600.
yeah, we got it.
The procurement part, you take care of all that, everything going off the bids, your office takes care of that?
Right, yeah, I mean, we'll work hand in hand with the town hall, so it's publicly posted and stuff like that, but yeah,
You got that? Did you write all that down?
I did.
Do you mind if I make a copy of that?
Yeah, I mean, I can email it to you too, whatever is. Yeah.
Any questions on this then?
Talking a little fast for
Well, no.
No, there's a lot of stuff.
you.
All right, anybody else
No,
satisfied
I
with
said
that?
good. Yep.
Okay, moving right along. We wanted the geotech analysis.
Right, so, so last week we did test pits, earlier this week. We did test pits on the property to help out Berkshire with understanding the soils on site as it relates to their stormwater design. So that's happened. And then tomorrow morning, we have the geotech consultant, which the town has procured, to do borings along where the footprint of the building's gonna be, to understand what the foundation design needs to be. So that's happening tomorrow morning.
Any surprises so far?
No, not really. Actually, for the drainage test pits, they came out pretty good. Pretty sandy, and we didn't hit groundwater. It was pretty deep, so we can have a chamber and probably, you know, it facilitates our design. Definitely.
How deep is the water table there?
I know for a fact it was more than 7 feet, so deeper than 7 feet. I don't know exactly where he hit it because, you know, he was deep enough that he knew he could build his design.
Mm-hmm.
The borings will tell us where the.
And the boring will go all the way down.
So the borings tomorrow are gonna go around 30 feet deep. So.
You got all
Any questions from anybody? No, all right. A discussion about the architect's contract. You get an overview of your contract?
Sure, so, may I ask, how many people have been on a committee for a building construction project that went to construction? Okay, so, the architect is basically the designer of the project, responsible to make sure that the construction has been, it's built according to design and code. Initially, we were providing, schematic and preliminary drawings. Over the process of design, through an iterative process of submissions at design development and construction document phases, we would be showing you more and more of the work, asking you for more and more comments and filling in the blanks and the details, or we'll start to fill them in. And, if there's a consensus, we keep moving through the process until we have a set of construction drawings that you approve of to go out to bid. And at the same time, simultaneously, we have lots of balls up in the air. The estimate is tracking, and when we go out to bid, we're planning on a project that's going to come in, close to or under bid. When the project goes out to bid, as Phil explained, we assist with the bidding process. They'll be doing the postings, but there'll be a pre-construction, pre-bid meeting, a conference where all the bidders come to the site. We'll be there answering questions, explaining the project to them. If there's any questions and addendum that have to be issued during construction, during bidding, we will provide them. So we can, if there's questions that we can sort of fill in the blanks for them, help guide the bidders, we will do so. When the bids come in, we will review the bids along with Phil, research the low bidders to find out they have a good track record of construction, verify whether or not the bid is valid, with all the bid, there's lots and lots of bid laws. If that moves forward, we make a recommendation to award the contract to the bidder. The town would obviously, if the town proceeds, then we'd be going to construction. We begin with a lot of construction meetings. We'll be meeting once a week with the contractor on site during the construction phase. Those meetings will review his construction, his schedule. We'll work through any questions. We'll advise him if he's not doing something correctly during construction. While under construction, the contractor will be submitting probably monthly requisitions, applications for payments. It's our responsibility to review those applications, make sure that they coincide with the work that's in place. So we'll sign off, we'll certify to that, and then we'll give that payment application to the town, and the town will, if they concur, pay the contractor that amount of money. Through the construction process, the contractor will be submitting submittals, shop drawings, samples of materials to us to tell us how he's going to fulfill the contract, all the materials and everything. We will review those and approve them or reject them, and he'll do them, he'll have to submit them again. But there's a checks and balance process through the construction process that allows us to verify before things are actually put in place or even ordered or bought that we are going to get the products that we've asked for. So we go through that process. Contractors, through the process, there'll be RFIs, requests for information, questions that are written out, and we'll respond to them. If there's changes that you choose to make, changes that are necessary because of heating conditions, errors or omissions or whatever, we prepare construction drawings that alter the drawings. The contractor would price that, and then we would review his prices to make sure those prices were appropriate and give you recommendations on those. Come the completion of construction, we'll be doing punch listing, as Phil mentioned, basically going through the project one last time with you, with the committee, to make sure everything is there that we've asked for. Make sure I'm not forgetting anything here.
Do you do your own clerk of the works, or do we hire our own? Are you the?
That's us.
That's you.
Yep.
So that. Okay.
Okay. And then there's, through the closeout process, once the construction is substantially complete, we get the closeout information, record drawings, as-built drawings, operation and maintenance manuals. We get all of those materials together, we make sure that they're appropriate. We help assist with the contractor setting up demonstration and training on certain mechanical electrical systems, so that you're aware of what it is you're going to need to operate, how you're going to operate the building. And I say this as an architect, but with our team, there's also civil engineers, landscape architects, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and structural engineers. So all of those people are doing the same thing that the architect is doing for their particular trades.
Any questions from anyone? Everybody understand the architect's part? Okay, we're moving on then. All right, now, designer items, conceptual site plan and zoning analysis.
Survey.
Oh yeah, the site survey for,
So site survey, the survey that the town procured, they sent their preliminary survey to Berkshire about a week ago. He submitted an updated one, I want to say a day or two ago. So the design team has that survey, and so they're able to kind of lay out a footprint location on the site accurately, and all that.
all right, so the conceptual site plan and zoning analysis.
I'll let Carlos explain that.
So after we got the survey, we looked at the existing conditions, and this is just, again, preliminary.
Carlos, I think you can bring it a little bit closer.
Closer, yeah, just bring that in.
Yeah, we're getting old, can't see Call
Did
it
it go
good.
And I think I can hit everybody there, everybody can see, except for
Everybody
me
can
being
see
in the way.
Can't see
Well,
through
I'm
them.
gonna just go in order here. So what you're seeing here is a preliminary demo plan with the survey underneath. So that's all the survey information we got. So it includes all our utilities, including drainage, electric, water, and sewer, and it also includes information about the resources that we have, the location of the lake, location of the high water mark, location of our wetlands, and also the buffers that we have to work with. There's a 35 no build zone in Hadley, so from that, it's 35 feet away from the edge of the wetland. So that's also shown in our plan. This is what we're looking at here. And
What is
for the
that-
most, yeah.
Excuse me, where does that line come? Does that come, that 35, by where that back fence is?
It's basically, right along basically the back fence that you have there. It's about probably a little bit farther out, probably a good 5 to 10 feet in some areas, but basically along that fence. So for the most part, the site, there's nothing, no building in the site right now from where we're going to be putting the building. So the demo is going to be pretty straightforward. There's a backstop, existing backstop there. There's some organic material, meaning grass and the topsoil, so that has to be removed so that we can do grading. There's a swing set on the corner, but for the most part, it's an empty site that we're going to be working on. And on the utilities that we saw, one of the things that we were looking for was how to drain the site, and as part of this whole survey and then our research on it, there is a drain line, existing drain line right now that goes right behind our site. That when we were looking just at the site, we were not aware that that was there until we got our survey. So in a way, that's good news. It means that there is an existing drain line. So anything that we do for drainage, we need to overflow when you have a detention pond, or we have a place to overflow when we have a lot of water in our system. So that I think that's good. A good thing about the site. Electric, we have a pole right at the corner, so we could, that's depending on the utility company, but it seems like we could probably pull in power from that to that same pole, so we wouldn't need to have a new pole. So utility-wise, that works, and then a sewer line that goes through right on River Drive, so we could access that for our sewer. So that's the information that at this point the surveyor has given us, and this is what we think is going to be close to what we're going to be doing for demolition. One of the other things that I'm showing here is an erosion control barrier, and that is to prevent any erosion to go into the water or to the lake or to the wetlands. So now we're going to go to our conceptual site plan, and you're seeing, what you're seeing now is, placement of the building. We went back and forth, and this is when part of what we're talking about zoning analysis is that my first thing that I do is I grab that survey and start looking at your setbacks for your zoning and all those requirements that you have for your zoning. And questions came up on that because of the setbacks that were on the original survey that was giving was shorter. It was 33 feet instead of the requirement for the zoning. And we got some answers during the week saying that there was a variance that the town went to ZBA to get that variance. So at that point we set a line for setback, which is that 33-foot line, and then we basically build our site from there. Some of the other requirements that we have in town is parking requirements that we have, which is the wording is you have to double the amount of gross floor area for your building. So if we have around 5,000 square feet of building, we need around 10,000 square feet of parking, which is a lot. One of the things that the town allows us is to not build all the parking all at once. We can just build the parking that we think we need now, and then have areas that could be reserved for future parking. So what you're seeing right now is a parking that includes up to 14 spaces, of which 2 are ADA spaces. But then you're seeing these areas where we've labeled as overflow parking or gravel parking, and that is for the future. And I want to make sure that we understand now that if we wanted more parking than what we're showing here, this is the time to tell us, because I would need to then, grade those areas and make sure that they work for the first, in the initial.
What about stormwater? The stormwater design.
Then the other, yeah. the stormwater, we have several, there will be several catch basins, and then what we call a separator. It's just it's basically a glorified catch basin that separates all the dust and solids that are in the water. And then we're proposing at this point is to have an underground chamber, which is basically a big hole full of gravel and pipe, where you can store the water for the required amount of time, so that you're not sending a huge amount of water into the lake or any of the other resources. The law requires us to have what was before we built this. We have to have the same amount of water going out of our site after we build it. And what that means is that, of course, if it rains really hard, you're going to get a huge amount of water all at once. We got to hold that water and then trickle it out little by little. Those soil tests that we did last week, what they pointed out was that the soil's really sandy. So this tank that we're going to have has no bottom. So, and what ends up happening is a lot of that water the design is for it to infiltrate. And because the soils are good for that, because they're very sandy and your water table is pretty low, we can have a lot of that water just get infiltrated, which is what everybody wants, Conservation Commission and us as designers. So we don't foresee having a huge amount of water coming out of the system, but we always need an overflow. And that's what we were talking about, because we want to prevent any issues if we get too much water. So that's why having a drain line that already goes here, that we could tie in outside of the 35 no build, that's or the area that we can't really touch, that is a positive for us. So we still need to figure out if that pipe can handle the amount of water we're going to be having, and that's the type of calcs we're going to keep going. Right now we're showing an area that's approximate to what that chamber would be, and you're seeing the area, and it would be about 4 feet deep. So it's a big chamber of gravel that's going to be there, and it's going to be covered by about a foot of material, and then you have your 3.5 inches of, you have your pavement on top.
Okay, so that's gonna withstand the
It-
weight of the fire truck moving over?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is designed so that it withstands. It has all the AASHTO, requirements so that it can withstand the weights. So that's parking and drainage in a short. We are showing about 6 parking spaces right on the back, right off of the kind of the fireman's entrance, on the back. This is our public entrance right in the front. The reason why we have this parking here is because there was talk about sharing some of this parking, and that's why it's located in that location. Also, it works with where the public entrance is, and we need to have ADA parking spaces for that public entrance. So preliminary grading, we can have 2 parking spaces, and the grades would be good for an ADA route.
So there would be no curve.
There will be a curb ramp.
Okay.
Right at that point. We have some curbing, and the reason for why we have curbing is because of that drainage. We have a very, 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 very flat site. So we need to control that water so that it goes into the right catch basins, and that's why we end up having curbing. So we have curbing all around this area. Then we are showing from the building, well, first of all, we have a concrete driveway and apron that we're going to have for your fire trucks. There is access, pedestrian access, so if you park here, you can actually, get off your truck. You don't have to go in through, if you needed to, you can just access the front entrance. And then you have, one public entrance that goes to the existing walkway that's along the road. As you keep moving along, like the question was, there's a curb ramp for the ADA for people with wheelchairs to go up. And then we have three other entrances, one on the side, and then 2 on the back. One of those on the back is going to have a ADA accessible ramp. So it would have a ramp so that by code, we need to provide 2 ways of egress that are ADA accessible. And because this building is, a higher elevation, you need to have a ramp to get up.
How high is that building going to be, the elevation of that ground level?
Well, because normally the elevation of the floor of a building is going to be higher than your outside grade. The idea is that you don't get water coming in and other issues with that. I'm estimating right now a foot. We need to coordinate that with the architect, but if you have a basement that gets much bigger, when you don't have a basement, I normally assume a foot difference at this point.
You got ADA parking in the front there.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the ramp in the back.
Well, we have an entrance that's ADA accessible, a very short distance from the ADA parking.
Yeah, you didn't mention that.
You said, no, you did say you need two.
You need two.
Yeah, you have to have two.
You got
He's got two, the front and then the back.
front and the back.
Yeah.
You need a main entrance that's handicap accessible. You need a main entrance. You need a main entrance that's handicap accessible, but you need two ways out if you're a handicapped person. So, you know,
Two
you
ways
don't
out,
get shot.
okay.
So the back door on the way out, not just is accessible just for an exiting.
I have a question on the drainage. Now, you're making that, well, let's call it a leaching tank or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it for now. If you decide, is that capable, if you want to add on to the parking and pave it, is that capable for that right now? Or would that, you
So-
have to do something different if you decided to add on to the parking?
When we keep designing, right now we have a very approximate size. So, you know, we have a ballpark that we can size immediately without having to go through the whole engineering, you know, big numbers process of it. So right now what I'm showing is conservatively big. It's bigger than probably what this requires because I wanted to have a
But if we
size.
decided to pave like some more on the side there,
The idea is that it's...
will it take it, or do we have to find a different way when we do that?
Well, I think
For a little while?
when we design, first of all, we're going to have this conversation back and forth on really how much parking you really need.
Right.
And then once we figure that out, we can talk, you know, I can talk to the designer and we can then make sure that we're designing to handle more parking
Okay.
spaces if we need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see the use of more parking if you were gonna have a drill or something, instead of getting closer to the road, you could use that back area to drill on.
What is
I can
the,
see that. Then the gray area, is that all paved that I see there?
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be good.
is that parking you got 2-to-1 for that building?
So right now there's the gray area that's paved parking and that's going to get built. And then I've shown some reserved areas that could, in the future, could be parking.
Okay,
But they would have to be
right, that'll be allowable with the planning board.
But they would, and I want to make sure that you understand that they would need to be, you know, right now I'm grading this whole area, but I'm not grading this parking here, because if we don't really need it, we just have it for the future. In the future you need it, then you would have to come in and grade that so that it would be,
Would that be filled to level, or is that gonna drop off in the back there?
it's going to drop off of that 35-foot line that we were talking about, because
It's
the
gonna go
grades
up.
change quite significantly.
Is the grade going up to that 35-foot line?
No. We are. So the existing conditions right now, the whole site is about 2 feet lower than your road.
What's the finish grade?
So 140. 147.2, I believe. I have a very preliminary grading planning here.
Talking about the building floor plan?
Yeah.
And what's the elevation of the road?
Let me give you this so that I'm not. So the elevation on the road is 147.
Yeah.
And the elevation for my building is going to be 147.2, so that we have positive drainage coming out
So
of.
it's gonna be like level right across.
Yeah, visually it's going to be leveled, but there's going to be 2% grade going out to the road because you don't want water coming into your building.
Yeah.
So that means that by the time you get to the entrance of that building, you're 2 feet higher, and it's 2 feet lower in the existing conditions right now. So there's going to be some fill, there's going to be grading. And by the time you get here, yes, if you look at these parking spaces, if we really wanted to grade these, to have these parking spaces, we would need probably a small retaining wall on the back of here, about a foot. I'm right now showing a curb on the back, so that gives you 6 inches higher. So we would bring that down, but you still would probably need a retaining wall that's going to be about a foot, just to get these ones on the back.
If we could ask right now, what would it take the committee to determine how many number of parking spaces you require built when you open the building? How would you determine that?
I would tell you, well, in my opinion, as the fire chief, I say you have more than enough, because we would have priority over the church for the parking.
Okay.
So the only thing I see on that, and I have to give you that truck dimension.
Right.
You may lose one of those parking spaces off the back just for access.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, you mean the truck that would come from the back? Okay.
So 13 or 14 spaces is adequate?
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky if we have 2 or 3 trucks showing up at that North Station. Not to say that wouldn't change, but even if we went full-time and that was considered a true substation, you'd be looking at it being manned by 2, at the max 4 people.
Right.
So,
Okay.
If you're gonna use that as a shelter, I would like to see maximum parking.
Because you don't know how many people are gonna show up, where you're gonna put them.
This area here
Yeah.
is gonna be graded much less, you wouldn't need a retaining wall or anything like that in this area. But it would definitely need to be, make sure that it is graded the right way so you're not throwing water to your neighboring building, you know, all these other things. So
How many parking spaces are we showing now?
on 14.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But if there's a disaster, you can
Yeah,
park
park
up
'em
in the
anywhere.
street anywhere you can.
What we're trying not to do is overbuild this, build too much capacity.
Yeah.
More
So that we're
drainage,
not doing
right?
anything in the building.
You got it.
Right.
Everything multiplies because it's more paving, more drainage.
What's gonna be happening if, say, you get a fire call, chief, Sunday morning during their mass, and all of those spaces are taken up
Well, they're
by
not-
church?
They wouldn't be going past that public parking area. So if so they would have a handicapped spaces and those not there. There would be something that says no access to the back.
Just like
So you would have.
You have to reserve
you'd have
those,
6
definitely.
spaces in the
Same,
back.
same thing
as
probably
here.
like we have here,
Yeah.
where you can't go
Yeah.
past restricted area.
Plus we'd have
Plus your
the,
design is, it constitutes backing the trucks in, right?
Yes.
And with all your greenery in back, how do you get to the back doors now? It doesn't seem like you have much space at all left.
On the back doors,
To the right, there's a back door on the right of the building.
Yeah.
right here.
No, way where your greenery
In the
is.
back.
Way, the right corner, over, right there,
Garage.
right there.
That's just a tree.
That's just a tree that, you know, it's gonna be, and I'm showing it as mature size or 75% mature size, that's just a tree.
So there's no pavement, it's all paved.
Yeah, this is all
Straight,
paved,
okay.
all paved. There's a 24-foot wide,
That's
Lose that lose the little island, it's easier to plow right back across.
so I'm gonna, the only issue,
I mean, how do you make that
Hey,
work?
hey,
the only reason why there is one island there is because you're gonna have a grade change that you're gonna have to absorb, you know, it's gonna have to go up. And if you think about it, if not, you're gonna have this weird pavement that's gonna be 6 inches higher in one corner and then it's gonna go down.
I'm looking at
Towards
trying to
this.
plow that.
plow it in,
and
swing the truck in.
You're not gonna be able to,
That's what I just was telling them, that we may have to amend the back for one less space there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
To
something
take that
to
off.
look at. I have to get him the dimensions of the truck and the.
Oh, and I'll do a auto turn, you know,
Yes.
once you give me that, I can just do that.
I mean, the senior center's the same way with the parking.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real place to push it off, you know, onto other properties. So as the snow builds up, you're gonna be losing parking area.
In here, I envision that you're gonna have, you know, that's why we
That
pushed
looks
that.
like it's got some space to go.
A little bit of space
Yeah.
here, and then you will have space on basically the
Right,
back. You know,
right.
so you can
But,
push all the way
you know,
back.
try
But
to,
yeah,
You know,
these
get in there with
guys.
something small and back drag and
Gary,
everything
you
else
just
is
push
fine.
it into the pond.
Boy, that's
They
nice.
can go right through the front and out the back.
But definitely, we'll think about this. But you understand that because there's this the curb basically absorbs this
At least
weird
it's clean
grade
water.
change. But if
At
that's
least
not
the
an issue,
snow's
we
clean.
can eliminate
Get
it.
caught with that.
We can make it smaller so that we have a
Cleaner than
curb
what's
there
in
that
the
absorbs
pond.
it, so it doesn't look as bad. But
You know, if you come
it would
around
be
the corner
narrower.
and plowed everything right off, you could almost.
Pound's dirty.
To the front.
But
Well,
yeah.
Huh?
Oh yeah, you can just
Or we
keep
can
your-
put
I know,
radius.
'cause I said the pond's dirty.
Yeah.
Has there been discussion of fencing the property at
They've
all?
heard it from
So
me before.
right now,
It's nothing
I'm not
new for
showing.
me.
Nothing?
Nothing's been discussed.
Yeah, nothing's been discussed.
I thought the neighbors, that was one of their requirements, they were very adamant about that.
What's that?
Fencing the property so people don't encroach on their property.
Where did they say, who said that? I didn't hear that.
Mrs. Yusko?
Who?
Oh, I use Ghost property.
Yeah.
Well, that's on the other side of the,
Right.
No, it's on the
That's-
back of the North Hadley Hall and it goes,
Right.
theirs goes all the way.
That's the town's property there.
That's that red line.
Right there, that red line.
Yeah, the red line.
Originally, I think, Donald, because they were gonna have those parking spaces on the back, that was discussed, but we've eliminated that, and now there's gonna be the
Well,
sign that
she-
says
her
no.
concern is
No, she
all of
talked
this
about-
area here, people utilizing it to get to the water.
She
And
talked
she
that,
doesn't want people coming, say if you have some green space for the pond in the back, I don't know if we do or not, but she doesn't want people parking their car, walking here and going all the way
they're
down.
not gonna be able to
Her
park in back of the
statement,
fire
her
station.
statement was when that was discussed, putting the North Hadley, in
They're not gonna
apartments.
park in the back of
And
the
she
fire
wanted that
station.
traffic.
Shoot the fireworks off.
That's what she was concerned about.
Useful property.
The firemen are not gonna be walking there.
No, I'm not saying the fire department, but if you're reserving some spaces in the back, maybe it's been eliminated now
Nobody for the
No.
for the pond. Okay, so then that eliminates that.
Yeah.
But that was her concern initially.
So we have again, those two entrances that we had on the back, the one on the side, just to keep going with this, and then we have those two entrances that, have a couple of steps to go up, and then we have a ramp entrance. We are showing a couple of pads here, one for the HVAC, one for our generator, and then we're also showing a pad with the two propane tanks for that generator. These locations right now are, I've been discussing this with John, and they will probably move around or make them, but right now we wanted to have at least some areas that we were saying we have a place mark for them.
Who decided we're going with propane?
Yeah.
Well, only from the point of view of the generator. I think we talked about the generator being propane.
Why?
Why?
We did talk about
We
it.
talked about it because it was the most efficient.
Right.
We had a
It-
discussion about
It's
that.
efficient,
We're not storing
it's
fuel oil near a
inexpensive, and it's easy to maintain.
Now, are these tanks gonna be buried or above ground?
The tanks, we would like to have them buried, 2,000 gallon
Vaulted?
tanks.
Are they
What's
gonna be vaulted? The tank's gonna be vaulted. Are you gonna put them in a vault?
No.
They're on top, they're padded.
No.
They would be underground, they would, depending upon what the water table is, there might be a pad, they might be strapped down.
And, yeah, anti-corrosive.
Oh, anodes, yeah.
Yeah, well, those are gonna be buried?
Well, no, it's our suggestion, it's your decision. But we would suggest
But you could use that propane also in the building for
that
the
you,
stove and stuff.
you could, but it would have to be separate propane. It'd be another tank for that, because you don't wanna run down your emergency generator fuel supply by,
And you would estimate how much time, runtime? A
well,
week?
by code, by law, we're required to have 72 hours of operation on the generator before you need refuel.
That's if it's an emergency generator or just a standalone, or a
That's if
standby?
you're in an essential facility, fire station, police station, with or without a shelter responsibility.
That's-
you're still
But your
covered.
other tank could be closer to the building and not as large either. If
Yeah,
you're
but-
just using it for stove.
Well, it depends on whether or not you might use it for your heat, or if you want to go diesel with your heat,
I don't know.
or all electric.
That gives you 3 days, 3 days operation.
Yes. Before somebody would have to come and resupply you, a propane truck.
But that would be easier to do that than,
Yeah, if the roads are clear.
We've had departments where they've actually had made deals with, you bring your truck and then we're going to keep the truck. And we'll just tap into your truck. in an emergency. So. But we do have to look at generator location. We're talking to Carlos right now about moving it a little bit further away from the bunk room, so if there is an emergency, it's not vibrating right outside your window.
Because right now it is, that's a corner that is placed, but again, it's still flexible, it's just to have, again, a place mark and make sure that we have it on the site plan so that as we keep going, we don't miss it, we don't miss any
Can
of
it
these
be
items.
pushed right around the north side of that building?
Probably, yeah.
The north side on this side?
That's the south side.
That's-
Yeah, the north side on this side. Well,
There's not a parking
not
lot,
enough
you
room
could do that.
you got bunks, you got basically yours.
On the corner of right by the propane tank.
Oh, over here, you're really,
Keep going towards the pond, and that area right in there.
so we can't,
Yeah.
because we have a 35,
35
we have this line that we can't cross, we can't grade or
It's a
do
buffer
anything,
zone.
no work, nothing, no take any plans.
It can move to the south side of the building, that's another place where there's a little bit more land there,
Yeah.
and it is quieter if you think about the
That's
generator
good.
in the bunk room.
Because you have your whole base right in the middle, so you.
It's quite thin anyways, right?
You could leave the tank closer to that.
Where the generator is, and it must be near the propane because they're associated.
Yeah.
But there's also, remember, there's gonna be a transformer, electrical transformer. The transformer wants a short run to get into the electric room, and you want a short run from the electric room to the generator because that's all large cable.
And that's expensive.
And you transfer equipment to, it's pretty rugged
it's
stuff.
a little more cost effective too, isn't
On the
it, to have those
transfer
things
station,
closer
yeah.
to where they're supposed to be?
I can tell you, I have a generator
sure.
right outside my
It's a little
window,
more
and it goes off
cost-effective to have
every Monday.
Yes.
Closer
It's not
to
that
where
bad.
they're.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of,
Sometimes when you have really limited amount of space,
If
you end up
somebody's
where they go.
If somebody's sleeping, we'll give them earplugs.
Again, right now, the logical for me as a site guy, there is a pole right now here. There's electric coming down, existing pole right on the corner. So right now I'm showing a transformer right on the corner there. Again, that could be on the other side, might require a new pole if we do that, but it's still flexible. The idea is that we have it placed in the site plan, and then as we keep going, we'll figure it out.
All the wire would be buried?
For the most part, yes.
For the building, yes.
Yeah.
Just wonder if you put a pad for a dumpster and that gets dumped weekly, he's gonna have to back all the way out.
So I was going to ask you, I'm not showing a pad for a dumpster. It was one of the things that went through my mind. If this small of a building, I thought that you would be doing just carting stuff around, but if you want the space for a dumpster, then I would need to know now so that we can design it and make sure that the circulation works for
We've
it.
never had a dumpster in North
You
Hadley
don't need a
Hall.
dumpster over there.
And that's what I felt like.
But if you needed one, couldn't you put it way in that far south corner?
Yeah, but we don't
Right in
need
the corner.
we don't need a dumpster.
Yes,
I mean, I could sit right on the
Putting their
grass.
trash in there.
Yeah.
It's been those,
It could, but I'm
It's
just
been
saying,
the toner
he's gonna back.
It's going to back up all the way
Too
back.
bad.
Yeah, but we don't need a dumpster up there.
How do you know we
Well,
know?
just-
Maybe they do someday.
No,
No. How do you know?
not for the amount of trash they
we'll
can.
just burn it.
Yeah, we'll just start fighting.
The pond's there.
You need a big burning pit.
So is there a consensus on dumpster versus barrels?
Well, recycling,
just trying to move-
Give it to her, she'll burn them in a barrel, she don't
Honestly,
care.
I got a
like
dumpster
Gary
down
said,
at the
we can
garage.
just
Dump it down there.
We can do a couple of flip-up things.
20-gallon barrels?
Yep.
You're not gonna generate that much there.
Okay.
No,
You're done one guy there, maybe two.
So the last items, we were talking about fencing. One of the items that we needed is the requirement for zoning is that you have to have some type of screening for your parking spaces from the street, and that's why you have basically a green screen right here. And then I was screening all this edge. We used to have a fence, a chain link fence there, so to keep that separation, I thought that was appropriate to do. So we're showing some evergreen planting, just one straight edge, so you could have some
You expect,
Just leave the
double
fence there.
separation.
you expect when the churchgoers use that parking lot that they're gonna walk across the grass to the church, or they're gonna walk
They
out
do,
the
they
street?
do.
No, let them cut their own walkway from that parking right into the church if they want.
Right now, they park along the road,
Right.
walk on the road,
Oh, you're
walk
right,
down the
because there's
sidewalk.
something there right
I don't
now,
think the
okay.
church is gonna.
All right, so we'll provide an opening in the shrubs.
We can, we can provide an opening, and we'll put it in a logical.
The only trouble with that, there's no walkway, you provide the opening, it's all rough terrain.
They can put it in now
That's
if they want. We're not putting their walkway in.
Why put shrubs in the corner along there, you gotta maintain them, you gotta.
Put a fence there.
You got a fence there now, just leave the fence there and say the whole shrub.
Well, the fence is gonna be gone,
Why?
because your property line, when you look at that,
Grade it.
this is the fence,
Right,
and this angle, and this is your property line.
right.
So I have all this space that I'm actually having to
The fence
utilize.
isn't on the property.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
Parking.
It's probably 10 feet over the line.
So it's probably, if it doesn't show in that one, but if you look at it, actually I can show you right here, and you can compare it to that. You see how the fence just goes like that on the angle, and I need some of that space for my parking spaces and for the gas tanks.
A
and
quick
for everything
line
else.
of arborvitae and they'll grow quick.
Yeah.
Be a nice fence. Arborvitae. In the fall from Weinzig, you get.
We've gone through parking, and then the rest of the site elements, a sign that you would have. This is a question that I had. Right now, the regulation would ask for that sign to be 20 feet away from the front property line. That would put it basically on the entrance, and it wouldn't make a lot of sense. So I'm showing it actually much closer to that property line. And then I believe when we go, one of what I'm suggesting is that when we go to planning, we're going to suggest that we want the sign to be closer to the street. If not, if we
It'll
go,
have to be a variance.
no, it wouldn't be a variance. It would be the planning board has the right to do a waiver for that if we needed to. But again, I talked quickly, John, about this. If it has to be 20 feet back, then the sign should be then on the building. It doesn't make sense to have a sign that's not going to be seen from the street. So that's it. All the rest of the elements we have here, I'm showing 7 light posts that we would have. One on the entrance, one close to illuminating these parking spaces, and then 2 or 3 on the back, just to illuminate the back of the property. And
And
those
all
will
that-
be LED lights.
All that lighting is gonna be strictly on that property, no?
Of course, yeah.
Overcast.
Be a little scattered.
We'll go through the process of doing photometrics plan for it, so that would tell us exactly how many we need. If we need less, then we'll cut them down. You know,
That has to
back.
go through the planning board too, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lighting and everything.
Mike, do you do training at night out there? Or would you do training at night in the back?
I mean, I wouldn't say no, not ever, but we normally do our training here at Center Station, not to say that we wouldn't do it there, but there may be times when we might.
We're just trying to think what the purpose of the lighting would be, if it's training or if it's just
Safety.
safe to get to your car.
I think it would just be safety for folks getting in and out.
It's getting.
You could put motion detectors in, wouldn't you? I mean, with the lights on them that go on,
Yeah.
where, you know, powered by sun.
You could do both actually. You could do photo
Photo cell on, time clock off. Or
You got it.
which way, so-
Yeah, and then movement. So those lights in the back, for instance, won't only turn on when the car goes back there, but you can still keep the front 2 lights on so that there's always lights on. Yeah. I think for site, I've gone through most of it. I mean, I'm showing right now. There's some shrubbery that's shown, some planting beds in the front just to create a nice entrance. But for the most part, I think that's it for a site plan and for the outside of the building.
From the from the front of that building to the property line, how many feet do you got there?
So I got exactly a 33 feet.
Is that what you need there?
Well, that's from the front of the building, but
Right.
you have additional on the.
There's additional 4
Just
feet
a-
there.
if there's
Yeah,
a-
more. Yeah, there's
more-
about
more
5
back.
feet for the
I
sidewalk
wanna
and
make sure that.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
37 to the
37
property
feet.
line, which is not the same as the curb.
yeah,
Right.
it's farther from the curb. So
So yeah, it's not a big space for training or anything. Or, of course, you're not going to be washing vehicles out there.
So where's your intention of tapping in the sewer? Into the manhole?
yes, yeah.
The manhole's by Middle Street, isn't it? Middle.
There's
Middle, right there.
either we're tapping to the manhole, or when the time comes when we keep developing and get to drainage, or we need to have another manhole, that would be that might be
That's kind of
what we do.
crazy. I think it'd be better just to, because that's deep there, so there's no problem.
Sure,
with
yeah.
that.
About 24 feet there.
Yeah.
Right, who the hell's gonna put it, you know what the cost of putting a manhole in that, that's why. Cooper, that's.
24 feet?
I think it's 16.
It was
You got a double line through there?
it goes
Is that a
to
double line through
it's
there?
the rim is at 147 and the flow is at 130,
129.
129. So it's deep. Yeah, it would work. Last but not least, I think this area right now is very pretty flat. You have 2 trees there. It would be a nice place to have a picnic table or something like that in the summer if you want to have your food back there.
Break the lawn and break the leaves and mow lawn and everything else. Put more bushes there for crying out loud.
Take a canoe ride on the pond.
Put poison ivy everywhere.
Yeah, that'll keep people up.
Willie said cut
No, I'm
everything
going
right out.
Frank Zabawa.
There's a round desert.
He wanted to take me for a pond ride. I said, no.
If you don't have any more questions on the side, then
Really nice.
Anybody have any other questions
But I might not even.
on the site plan? Anybody got any questions on the site?
I think you did a pretty good job on that.
Okay, good
No,
job.
it's supposed to have
Good job.
I need to make a quotation while so long. The lily pads will hold me up.
He was looking for one that's different.
He was hot.
He was?
It's like it being in the Great Salt Lake out in Utah.
You only got 2 copies? Is there another copy
That's
somewhere?
all I got. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I can make more
You
copies.
can give me one later.
I'll wait.
No, I don't want you
here's
to cry
another one.
about it. You can cry to Danny, I don't want you to
Hold on, we
do
have more coming.
it. Right. Okay, everybody all set now? Everybody
I don't know,
happy?
you tell me.
I don't know.
All right.
Okay.
So, we had the site plan, we had the floor plan that was developed before by the committee. We've taken a look at that. We've taken a couple of advantages of some of the design, moved it around a little bit, particularly because we're thinking about, one is the issue of historical, and try to get this building to look good in scale on that site. So one of the first things we did is we juxtaposed, we brought the section of the office out a little bit, so when you see on the elevations that come up, it helps
break apart that long length of building, makes it a little bit smaller. We're able to, at the same time, maybe step the roof a little bit, and we're making this look less like a, the flat wall metal building that was everybody's bad reaction, and we're starting to make this thing look more like a traditional building, more suitable for that historical neighborhood. So the apparatus is the same size we discussed before. It's got the two doors in the front, one door in the back. They're both 14 feet by 14 feet, which is standard apparatus door size. The way it's arranged is there's a little bit extra space on both sides because that's where you end up with all your storage has to be. And of course, there's a little bit of storage back here in the back of the first bay. As far as the space here goes, it's very similar to the design that you developed before. Probably the only couple of changes that were made were the bunks were in the back here, and the mechanical room was on this side. And the mechanical room didn't offer any chance for windows or anything, and this is going to be seen from the public, basically. So we moved the bunk room to this side. It gives us windows. It also allowed us to move the office to an outside wall, because before the office was inside, and there was no windows on it, so a little benefit is the office, same size office, but now has a window, so it gets a little bit of fresh air. Mechanical room is in the back. That works fine. All of our utilities, the generators, and everything we're talking about is in the back, so there's no sacrifice to putting the mechanical electrical room in there. It also brought this corridor over a little bit, which shortened the corridor, and a minor amount, there was a minor bump in efficiency by doing that. For the restrooms, the other thing that we did was, rather than develop an entire shower room, we're using the space of the two restrooms to put in a handicap accessible 36 by 36 inch shower stall. So while the shower isn't the most important thing that's going on here, it's not taking up any more room than it absolutely has to take up. And certainly when you go in there and you close the door, you have more than enough room to take a shower, get dressed, get dried off, and get changed. So we were able to save some space here and develop more storage space for you. This part here is identical to the parts that the design that you had before. I was, because of some of these savings here, able to make these spaces a little bit bigger. We did talk about having the issue of having to walk and come through the dispatchers to exit is relieved by the fact that we added a door here. So this door here is an exit door. You could decide, how you want to use the building, if you want to come in this way. But really, this is intended to be the main entrance. But this door here is for egress purposes, so you can lock this door, and people aren't required to pass through it to exit. So rather than having this as one of your two exits, you can have these two doors as your two required exits. The door's not subject to locking. There's closet space here, and as I mentioned, a large storage space here. In order to make the dispatcher's room a little bit more efficient, we also didn't bother putting in a door directly into dispatch, since one door, and also it eliminates another door off of the apparatus, which eliminates some storage space against the wall. So by taking this door and by basically allowing them to pass through this corridor, we save a corner, we save some office space, and we save some outside storage space up against the wall and the apparatus against the office wall. So that makes it a little bit more efficient. Mike yet decided that's advantageous. I could move the door closer, so it's really a straight shot. We took out the little janitor's closet that we had in here, and we're basically going to put a slop sink out here, save some space, and certainly that's not much more of a distance. And this area has a floor drain, so if you're working out here, a janitor's working out here, anything that spills on the floor goes into a floor drain. If it were out here and he was working, it wouldn't find the floor drain. I will mention that in the mechanical electrical room, we do have a floor drain in there. We're looking at, if there's a boiler, if there's a fire protection system, that needs a drain, a backflow preventer.
You can do that. You put the electrical room in there, and they're gonna start filling it up with all kinds of storage and shelves and everything like that. And then you won't be able to you gotta have 3 feet in front of the panel.
Right,
You're gonna have your generator,
Yep.
your
Or
disconnect
that
and
transfer
all that.
switch, yes.
I don't care who you are. Once you say that's a storage room or the generator room or whatever, they're gonna start filling it up all kinds of papers, boxes and everything you won't be able to get to.
That's why we're
Well, that's
getting
a
these other
storage
storage
No,
spaces.
they wouldn't even think of doing something like that, would you?
Not till after
They
inspection.
do that.
Well,
Not till you leave.
They don't include, they do that, they don't include that
They're
road.
the authorities having jurisdiction.
Yes, you,
Right.
that's correct.
I like that term.
You either draw it the way and have just the electrical or the electrical and the IT.
Yeah.
But anything else in that room
Wow.
will
That's
not
what
be
he has.
approved.
That's what he has.
Okay, I've got
It's not storage.
Not storage.
Yeah, it's not storage.
Not storage.
Well,
It's
a
mechanical.
No, he's got a storage
No,
room
no,
and then a
storage is
mechanical
next to
room.
it.
This is storage right here.
storage,
Yeah, that's
and
nice.
that other room is.
That's the bigger room,
this-
mechanical.
Yeah,
Mechanical
mechanical,
electrical.
mechanical only.
and-
Mechanical, electrical only,
And your
yeah.
computers,
No, that's down in the IT room, down on the front.
The IT would be up here. Your IT computer servers would be here, in the 911 communication. And this is against the wall, so you can have vents and louvers
Yeah.
for the mechanical.
I got one question for you so far.
Yes, sir.
Is there a female bunk room there, or?
There's 2 bunk rooms right here. They're non-denominational.
Okay, thank you.
and other.
what kind of heat,
You're ready for questions.
what kind of heat, it's gonna be
It's-
gas furnace, did you say?
It's
Yeah.
something we would like to
Pellet.
talk to you about, what type of heat. We do have a alternate for a radiant system. I think the radiant system was principally in the apparatus area. Since we're going to be air conditioning this side, we were thinking an air system would be more reactive and less expensive for you because you can heat and cool through the air system.
The only problem with that is you got ductwork,
Yes, we do.
and then you got, that takes up a hell of a lot of space, and, if
It's
you
all in the
put-
ceiling, ain't it?
Yeah, there's space above the ceiling for it. It's been designed.
Oh, yeah, then that's gonna take away from your mezzanine.
No, it's still on the mezzanine.
It's still a mezzanine.
Yeah. I can show, I have a quick section.
If you put those small mini splits like they were talking in there, those mini split air conditioners.
Yeah, but the way they've got it chopped up right now, you're gonna have to put one in almost every room.
Yeah, and the mini split doesn't provide the code required ventilation, it just recirculates air to the room. You still need ductwork to bring ventilation and also outdoor air into the space. And you still need probably some ductwork to exhaust some of the stuff that goes on
So
there.
you're gonna go hydro here.
Yes, you could do hydro air, you could do gas-fired duct furnaces, you could do all sorts of,
Well, you're gonna have, you're gonna be doing the radiant in the bay anyway, so you can use the same.
provided we get the alternate, yes. Base bid would probably be unit heaters, and then we go to the alternate for the slab.
I thought we had to change that.
Oh, I'm sorry, you did, yes,
Yeah,
you did,
put
radiant
that
is
in
base
basement.
bid, yes.
Okay, where's the kitchen facilities in this thing?
Kitchen is right here, so you can't, it's light, but the kitchen is against this wall. We have a stove, a counter, a sink, and a refrigerator. There's planning to be a little bit of a day room here. This was a meeting training room, I'm sorry, I thought you were familiar with the previous design. So right now, we're showing a table that can be put together with about 8. If you add another table and you go like rows, you might get 12 in there, maximum. It'll be tight.
John, are you showing a doorway on the south entrance anywhere on the south side?
On this side right here?
Yeah.
No, we have the one door here off the back, which was off that plan. I didn't see a door on the south side. We don't have a sidewalk going out that way either.
I thought you wanted a.
Well, we had one listed, but it was
I
just,
thought
it
you
was,
wanted a place right up the
Maybe I
corner of
missed
that building.
we had talked about possibly having one where we could have a small area for like a grill or something like that.
Right, right off the building.
We're thinking the east.
But off
by the
the apparatus as opposed to maybe
Yeah.
off here.
It was just a discussion at the time. If it doesn't work on that side, it doesn't work on that side.
It certainly does. One of the things, we can put a door here. That's not, I don't, absolutely positive.
Even, I mean,
No problem.
even for the future, they wanted to put, like a patio or something out there. At a later date, you guys could do that, right?
I would think you'd want to be behind the building
Yeah,
rather than seen
I
from
think
the
so.
road on the side of the building.
There's a couple bushes
back
will
there
cover
would be
that.
much
Put a
nicer.
patio right in here.
Yeah, I could make that.
Well, you've designed it differently now where you have that little stuff back now, so.
Don't forget, every other door and sidewalk's just
Well,
more to
after
clean
drills,
off,
sometimes
after
you guys like to have a
snowstorm,
cookout.
sand and salt.
After a fire?
If there's no one going
After
from there, there's
drills.
nothing clean.
I have one.
After
you know,
drills.
that's-
Public buildings gotta stay open.
As far as the turnout gear racks,
Yep.
I've got about 7 here and I need 5 here. I
People
can't
in
get
there,
them all
run out
here
of space on our little
I
maintained
don't know,
stove,
you know,
and
because of
alternates.
that particular door location. So I'm not going to be able to get all the turnout gear racks here. Some of them will have to be there unless you want to stretch them out somewhere else. That's something to think about. Right now, we have a stair going up to the mezzanine, right off the back here. This, and, you know, for the
Where does that
record,
start from, the front?
starts here.
Back
and
there
comes
and
out
goes to the middle?
And this is the top of it. Yeah. So, I would like to be clear. There's no public use up on that mezzanine. So there would be no requirement in the Massachusetts Handicap Code to provide an elevator or do anything else like that. Outside of that, our firm is required to comply with all laws and codes and regulations from the birth of time. One of them is the ADA that we're all familiar with. We know, and we can tell you that the ADA will not allow you to put storage up here. If we call this a utility mezzanine, and I put some HVAC equipment up here, maybe the air handling unit comes up here, I can correctly describe it as a utility mezzanine or a utility platform. And it can be built, and this doesn't have to be a handicap stair, you don't need elevators to it. If you were to use that for storage, you would be not in compliance with the ADA. I don't want to be the one who, 10 years from now, after storage is put up there, sued because I designed a building that wasn't ADA compliant. So, my point of view is, you need to agree, you know, in front of me, for the record, that that is not going to be used for storage.
Everybody agree?
Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's also a good place to put
Agreed.
it.
Yep.
Everybody agrees, right?
Okay.
Agreed.
So, the other part of this is, we were determining this to be a mezzanine. According to the code, a mezzanine cannot be more than 1/3 of the floor area that it's open to. So, based upon the size of this, the floor area of the mezzanine would be about this big right here, it's a little dotted line. So it's a little more than half of what this area is. It's about a little over 1,000 square feet or so.
Is that gonna be closed right up, or is that open?
It could be open or closed depending upon what you want, because there'll be less than 10 people up there, because there won't be any people up there. It'll be a utility mezzanine. So it can be closed or it can be open. I would almost advise leaving it open, because then you don't have to air condition or
Right.
treat it differently. It's part of the same atmosphere.
We had asked if you could incorporate that training wall in that one
Yes,
space, is that doable?
certainly, yeah. For that purpose, that's not an issue.
The one question I had is in the dispatch area. Are you required to have that door going out the front?
Am I required to have this door?
Yes. The one going into the vestibule, is that a requirement?
That's the only way to, that's my
If
question.
this is
was-
your, if this is your main entrance,
That's the main entrance.
oh,
for the
would you like to
public.
go into the meeting room instead?
No, well, the way we had it designed was that there was gonna be a window there, so that if somebody came in, so if that
Oh,
was an
Oh, I
operation.
saw. I apologize. I interpret that to be a door.
Yeah, because we're looking at not having the public in there. I mean, that was
Okay.
something we had discussed. So it was basically if somebody came in off the street
Mm-hmm.
and needed services,
It's like a
If
color
that-
window or something like that?
like we have downstairs, basically.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's doable, or if you're required by code to have that.
So then they
Second.
could just go in the meeting
You
room.
You'd have
are-
to have a second means of egress out of the dispatch room, right? Or-
Well, no, you
No,
don't,
just
you don't
one.
need one. You
That's
don't need
it.
one because it's size. I just have to think about the remoteness now.
Because of the handicap, you mean?
No, building code
Oh, okay.
requires the exits to be remote. So this was, I wasn't counting on it, so I believe I can. We could make that a window wall with a little
Mhm.
handicap height, of course, with a little writing counter on it or
Yeah.
something like this. And are you gonna have hours, particular hours in here where you're open with the public knows they can find you?
Potentially down the road, yes. That's why in that original plan, that's the way it was, because we wanted to keep the dispatch area secure, so that it wasn't accessible at all with a door or anything.
Okay, so if they came in here and then you decided they had a purpose in here, they'd have to come back out.
Well, that's why we were talking about originally, there was a door that went into the apparatus bay or into the meeting room.
Oh, off the vestibule?
There was two different
I
places.
didn't see that
so-
though, okay.
Yeah, that was the first
Well, you
shot.
flip these around, you could probably do that, right?
Right.
I mean,
Well, again, that's something we have to decide if we need a place, you know, in all honesty, I don't see where the public would have to go inside the space. You know, basically there would be a firefighter that
then you're
would
turn
come
around
out.
and go back out.
Yeah, basically. I mean, if we wanted to, I would say the best option would be to put the door that's locking and secure into the meeting room.
Yeah, that way,
It's not open to the public anymore, that meeting space?
Correct, yeah.
It's not
That was
right.
what we decided, yes.
To me,
I
they
can
want
tell you, a lot of people are gonna be drawn to this front door.
Well, that's,
Yeah,
it's,
we don't want the
it's like an
option.
endless hallway there, it's kind of,
Well, that's the place that if we were going to man it, and if there was a need
Yeah.
for somebody to come in, that's where they would have to go, would be the dispatch centers where
If
somebody
you were
would
coming in to go to a meeting, you'd have to go through the dining room now, or the kitchen or whatever.
That's
Well,
what we're saying,
normal
that there's
in
not
there.
public access to it. So let's say hypothetically, we had somebody that wanted to have a meeting with a firefighter or somebody. They would have to, the firefighter would have to meet them on the side and bring them in through the kitchen to go into the conference room. That's what I was saying, if I was gonna put a door, it would be going into the conference room from the vestibule.
yeah.
Yes.
So you can put a door here that's locked all the time unless the person wants to come and open it up and let you through.
Yes.
Maybe the front, yeah.
That'd be
That would
appropriate.
actually make more sense.
That's how we had it in the
Right,
first
if you
drawing.
wanted somebody, you could let them enter and hit a button and.
Or like tonight, when we all wanted to meet here, we wouldn't all have to go through the kitchen, we could go in and go through that
Right.
Yeah.
way, go right into the room.
Yeah, why don't you do that
Travel
there?
around.
Hey, chief.
The whole point is that we decided as a group that it wasn't gonna be for the public.
Right.
I'm
So if
saying,
you were
no,
coming
the
as
fire
being,
meeting
you
like
were
tonight.
parking on the
For
side.
fire personnel.
Yeah.
It's a matter of convenience for some irregular, process.
Right, so if we decided to have somebody come in, if a dispatcher was gonna come out and meet them, they would come out from the conference area, not from the dispatch area.
You could have a guest or somebody coming in for a speaker or something like
Train,
that.
yeah.
Right.
That would, but they would be parking on the side and coming in either through the back or through the kitchen area. So that's fine, I
As
get
long
what
as they,
you're saying.
as long as they knew the building, but most people are gonna go to the front
That's right,
entrance
yeah.
of the building and then get kind of landlocked in there.
Most first timers will go there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we'll have a door here, and if you end up with someone you don't want to send all the way around, you can simply open the door for them.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if you wanted to, you could maybe push a button and it might unlock for them. And then you don't even have to get out of your chair. Okay? I'll send the plan. The plan's about 75% of what you've already had with the little accommodations around here.
Which way is that roof line going over?
Ridge line is here.
The whole, both roofs?
Yes. I was going to show you. Be all set?
Yep.
Ready. So the intent of the design here is to kind of break up the elevations and because we've got to go before historical and get it approved by historical. So on the front elevation, which is where you're going to see from the road, you've got the two doors, you've got a little eyebrow arch over the doors, you've got the metal roof. We've got a couple of different types of siding, kind of break up the height of this building. Along the bottom, we have a shake style siding. It could be fiber cement, a little bit of trim board. Clapboard siding is sort of the middle part. And at the very top, we have a vertical board, kind of like barn board, reminiscent of the barns in Hadley. And so you got a three-part, very classical three-part elevation. You've got a base, shaft, and cap. You have a little bit of you repeat the eyebrow arch over a little front porch area, so you can identify and find the entrance very easily. We can still fit this is very high. We can still fit the mezzanine above this, and we don't have to have that very high ridge run the entire length of the building. Again, kind of break it down so that smaller scale with the smaller scale elements that are in the church and in the hall. So I'm hoping this appeals to the historical. On the side, this is the side that basically faces the parking lot. That siding runs along the whole side here. We pick it up here, try to create a little bit of interest on the side. We pick up the eyebrow idea, and we have vertical barn board here, and in the back where this thing steps, you can see it steps about 4 feet. It repeats at a higher elevation. We have a cupola that's kind of trademark. I tried to come up with a louvered design here that looked like the shoulder patch of the fire. I haven't quite got it yet. On the side facing the hall, this is the largest elevation because it's one tall, empty side of the building, basically. Put some windows in there to sort of take the curse off the flat wall and the fact that there's not a lot going on there, but this makes it look more habitable. Again, we picked this up at a higher elevation than over here. It runs right along the eave line. And again, we have the barn board up there to accentuate the fact that we've got three elements here, and we're constantly trying to break down the scale of this very large space into much smaller looking scales. There's a little bit of, where this thing takes off with the spring line of the arch, there'll be a large flat column, framing this window, and then you've got 4 windows in between there. Same thing on this side. A little bit of an element there that creates a little bit of interest and aesthetic. The front porch overhangs a little bit. This is a little bit of metal roof, so you can see the metal roof in either direction when you're coming up and down the road. My concept for the colors would be basically a gray siding, white trim, a dark maroon door, and actually I would propose a dark maroon red roof.
What is the ridge line? What's the elevation of that?
I think I brought a scale. Actually this is quarter, so that's
It's gotta be about 8 inches,
30?
10 inches.
okay. This is 16, so probably pretty close to 32.
What's the height in the mezzanine over there?
Okay, so in the cross section here, which is taken through the office addition, this would be the meeting room, the day room, the office, and the 2 bunks. It's like looking at this. This would be the mezzanine above. This is about 1/3 of the area of the apparatus room. There'd be joists, probably an I-joist, framing this area, because I know you're going to want a very heavily loaded utility room. And then you can see that the way the trusses work is you have a truss here, a truss here, and a truss over the top, a bridge truss over the top of this. So you can do this with 3 prefabricated trusses, size so they all can be shipped on the road. And we've done this design in many different public safety facilities, trying to create a cavity out of the truss space. So you would insulate, your insulated envelope would come up like this.
You would lose all that from the eave all the way in, right? Those corners.
You're losing
you
it, but it's
can't-
more than 1/3 of the
You
area.
can't have more than
over
a third of the area anyways.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have the headroom anyways.
And it's more money that would not go somewhere else, like the other elements that you want to have.
What's the framing on this building?
It's all wood frame, 2x6, generally everywhere, and sided, and obviously prefabricated trusses for the roofing.
Is this earthquake proof?
Excuse me?
Earthquake proof?
Yes, it has to be essential facilities. We've done them all the time,
And
and maybe not proof.
is the brick and block, is that
Excuse me?
way too costly for this project?
Yes, it would be. Yes, it would be. Particularly when I mentioned that masonry is getting very expensive.
Put a snow fence on them.
Yes, you would put some snow guards on there to keep the snow from falling across.
On the south elevation, on the bay side, the windows, would that take away from storage space inside, or how does that?
Yes, that would be, if you wanted to store right up against the wall there, yes. So we could maybe come up with 3 windows instead of 4.
Unless we did
Give
something
them more
like
wall
that
space.
here.
Could we
Higher.
elevate a little higher, or no?
Yeah, they could. The idea behind the windows were to try to do the cottage style windows, where the
5,
top is
6,
smaller.
6.
It's a little bit more,
We
Quite
originally thought we were gonna put those windows high because you can use that whole wall.
okay,
Turn
just
out
have
beautiful,
tall
whatever you
windows
want.
here.
Well, it'd be nice to keep
The upper
those 2,
window?
yeah.
We could, I could show it.
Keep the
show
2
you-
and then maybe the short ones up top or something.
Yeah, maybe keep these 2 here and do
Yeah.
short across the
Yeah,
top.
you know,
That's
keep just
a
those
good
upper,
idea.
you know,
And it
4
does,
of them.
yeah, this does sacrifice some storage by bringing it
And I
down.
guess you could frame it out so it looked the same and do something different in there.
Yeah, or you could just put a film on the glass and then they wouldn't know. And it would still look like, you know, residence. How do you feel about that? Does it fit the neighborhood?
I don't like it.
We want gingerbread
What
trim.
the hell you want? Everybody to agree with you?
You want
Well,
gingerbread
the
trim?
idea is we get kind of approval so they can move on.
Did you consider the all glass windows? We had talked
For
about
the,
all glass
for the
windows.
doors here?
Yeah.
Did I consider them? Not so much with the new energy code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the
You
energy
did those
code,
in a Paxton building, didn't you?
yes, I did. That was in the previous energy code. The energy code is what we're talking.
Okay.
We're now at 2015 energy code. I'm not gonna see, I can't do them, but I need to have a mechanical engineer run the numbers to see if I can make the whole building qualify under the energy code that way. I know this will,
What was the question?
We
All glass
were discussing having all glass windows on there.
Right.
We got
Yeah.
rid of them here because we used to have them here, but now down at the DPW because they were single pane glass and it was like a wind tunnel. So I mean, I'm not
they would have
opposed
to
to
be,
it,
they would.
I know that chief
They
in
frosted
Paxton, he can't brag enough about those.
Jay loves them, yes.
And then the light that brings into that building.
Yeah, no, I would,
Love it.
I think it would be a killer look on this building. I'm only concerned, it's gotta be code compliant first, so.
What are you gonna have, just white?
Well, could you put 2 rows of two?
What I was gonna
two
do
panels
was,
of-
all the sided areas were gonna be gray, and all the trim was gonna be white.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
You could do that lower section in a brick veneer
I
or
know.
stone veneer. to
I
kinda-
think that looks like a commercial garage with those doors.
Oh, you mean, you don't like the fact that these aren't all glass?
Right.
Yeah. Well, if we can get them, we can get them. They do cost a lot more too, by the way.
Well, let's do cost effective here, let's get
Well, that's
prices and then
Could you
tell
put a
us.
second,
Let's build a shed
second
house.
panel of
No, but
windows?
you,
Yes, you could.
Two,
Yeah,
that would give you more
depends
light.
where you wanna
still
put your
keep
money.
it still-
You got one right here. We wanna do another one?
I'm not saying that, John, but I'm just trying to be
I
cost
think you
effective,
are.
what is it
We
cost
could, we could do
between the two?
another panel of light. I mean, it doesn't have to be just one panel of light. There's actually 7 panels here.
Yeah, but the
So we could do another panel of light if we're trying to increase the daylight in the space. Obviously, these do a great job of increasing the daylight in space. I didn't put any windows in the back here either. I don't know if you're interested.
We don't need it.
Nobody's gonna see the back of the
To bring up-
building.
to
That's
bring up
more
that
from
front-
Mike to clean.
Could you do some dormers or something, even to stop the snow blowers coming down above those
I
doors?
don't think
You
that-
know, some false,
If you put the snow bars
not so
up,
much there, but even like up in the ridge line, in the line somewhere.
well, up here, I don't know that it would help you as much. as
No,
down
well,
here.
down low, but
We've got-
some doghouse dormers with the arch to kind of mimic the front entrance.
Doesn't that increase the hell out of the price too?
It would.
the snow bed, we've got
Oh, yeah.
them
No, I know,
on the
but just
senior
to-
center,
It
town
increases
hall,
more
and the
flashing
highway.
conditions, and the more flashing conditions you have, the more likely to go leak there first. basically.
I see what he's saying.
It's just a lot
he's
of
trying to-
snow.
He's trying to mimic it also mimics the park and rec.
Well, that's, you can take and put 2 or, even double windows like you have.
Right.
I know they're not gonna look at anything, but you could do that kind of arched eyebrow above those with a nice little roof coming out like you have the front entrance,
Yeah.
but at a smaller scale.
Cost too much.
It's gonna have a lot more money.
I just think from the point of view, if you're trying to flash the metals in the valleys, you have all these valleys up there.
Oh, yeah.
I
No,
think
they
that,
do it, yeah.
It would be, it could be done, but
Oh, yeah.
eventually that would be the place where it leaks first.
It's no different than flashing a cupola.
Yeah. The cupola is nice because it's on top, and
Yeah, well, the same thing as the one.
water's
the
gonna run
front door.
down those valleys.
Yeah,
basically.
it'd be the same thing as the front door,
Is that cupola gonna be lighted? Have a light up there?
red light.
Why does everybody want lighted cupolas?
Would you like a red light in it or
I
what?
looked at that and I said,
No,
No,
like,
I was
it's
gonna
just
ask for
so
a purple
unnatural.
one.
We want a lantern so we know if they're coming by land
What
or
a-
by
well,
sea.
yeah.
Yeah, by pond or by.
Swamp or by
Is that the
Very
cheaper-
small,
Very
is
simple
that-
question.
Is that the cheaper way to do a
big
roof
foghorn.
instead
Maybe
of
a
like
small
a
disco
metal?
ball?
Mount the
Instead
siren
of
out
like a
there.
That is metal.
I'm sorry?
That is
Instead of
metal.
like a metal, the
That's
metal
metal.
roof you have on top?
That is,
Is this any cheaper if that's done?
Oh, asphalt shingle?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, it's cheaper.
Yeah, if you wanted asphalt shingles, you would save money. The metal roof was discussed early on, so.
the
Yeah,
shingle
it's
roof
gotta
here
go in
started
front of the-
blowing off
I
in
think
2
metal
years.
roof is good.
Historic commission already too.
That would be unique, because it doesn't happen on my projects.
No.
So Mike, are you ever
We're
gonna put a
replacing it,
siren up?
it's only 19 years old.
A siren?
Yeah, for some of the fence and all?
No, it's our fire truck.
They were low, they were low bid.
But the nice thing about the
It'll
shingle
ring
is
the
it
bell.
holds the snow a little bit better, it's not
Yeah.
sliding off.
But we've got almost 3 buildings now in town, we put the snow, the standing seamless with the things we've had, all the gutters are still on them.
Good. That's my one concern.
It's a triple or quadruple price.
Two rows
Two rows
of
of-
snow pins.
Yeah,
Because those are
Well,
so.
your kids
there's a
don't
lot
know
of
what
weight
to do.
behind that snow when it starts moving.
Okay, is everybody satisfied with phase 1?
Can I ask you one, could you flip back to your interior plan? I just have one question about the door coming in off the back, going into the apparatus bay, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
here, yeah.
Yeah, does it have to be in that location, or could it be on the other end, so you would add a little bit more space next to that?
You
Could
want it here,
No, or to the left?
or
There.
directly here?
And then that
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would that provide you that extra space that you
Yeah,
need for the
but
lockers?
that's where the door, that's
Not
where
all
the
of it,
stairway
but part
is.
of it.
Could you put lockers under the stairs at the higher part?
Oh, right,
There's a storage
right now,
room.
underneath the stairs, the higher part, that is where we're putting the turn, the washer extractor out.
Oh, okay, let's go higher.
So that's kind of
All right,
occupied.
Just an if you wanted to move that, that'd be
If I'm
fine.
fine,
Yeah.
if that is better for you, then that for storage is perfect. You get more in there.
Was the discussion for a stronger roof load for solar panels, is that eliminated now?
No.
Or is that still in the discussion
That's
phase?
still in discussion phase. The trusses can be designed for whatever live load we want them to be. Maybe they go from 2 by 4 members to 2 by 6 members, but it's all feasible if you want it. If you think with the solar orientation that we have right now, you're not really got that ideal southern look, southern exposure.
Well, you
So-
got the eastern exposure on the apparatus room, right?
Yeah, I mean, if this is,
On
South looks straight that way.
south looks straight that,
Yeah.
straight,
Roger that.
straight that way, okay. So yeah, you can pick up some morning sun, but, you know, it's not.
But you'd see all the panels too coming down the road.
Well, if it was on the backside,
No, no,
Backside
east
Yeah,
side.
that's what I'm saying, you
Yeah.
put them.
I'm not sure if eastern or western is better. I think the western sun is hotter or, I don't know. Depends on-
Okay, any other questions of the architect? Or forever hold your peace.
Does the committee want to have some type of plan, maybe to show the colors and stuff for a town meeting? When people walk in, they could get an idea what this building might look like in that area?
I don't know, until he finishes designing this thing and going through, you're not gonna be ready for it.
Well, I know he says he has to go to the historical commission and
Right,
everything,
so
but I'm just saying, he gave us all the ideas already, the colors, but I'm saying,
Let
you
him
know.
get with a final plan, we're not gonna show the townspeople 10 plans. Let him show it,
You don't want a bait and switch.
one finished, then you're gonna have nothing but.
I think,
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, all right, we're all set.
So when is town meeting?
May 4th.
May 4th.
Design for
Get that.
utility.
You know, there's a
Now,
lot of
do you
people,
have-
John, about how this building's gonna fit on that lot.
It's like the one.
You know, showing the people how it fits in there. I think that's an important factor. There's a rumor going around town, there's only one bay,
That's bigger.
not two.
Listen,
You've heard that, right?
listen, stop chasing rumors. We're
I'm
here
not
building
chasing them,
a-
I just want to, you know, clarify the situation for townspeople.
This is
They
what-
paid almost $3 million voted,
This is
and
why,
they
Donald,
should see
we
what they're
got-
getting.
We asked cable TV to come tonight to help explain step by step through this process,
But it's fine then.
right? Okay, conceptual estimate,
right now, we don't,
guys pay attention here.
I gotta walk in the door. So I have an estimate from my surveyor, but it came to me as I was basically opening up my car door tonight. So I haven't had a chance to review it very well. I did spot some things. I will tell you that right now, based upon the estimate, we're north of 2 million. And we want to be south of 2 million. So I'm gonna go through it, take off all the low-hanging fruit, bring it down as low as I can, then I'll present it to you. That's
all
all right.
right.
That's fair.
This was what estimate then?
Our schematic estimate. I had asked for a square foot estimate, and he went right down to the nuts and bolts, so it was a little bit too much detail for me to figure it out in a short period of time.
Okay, so the next steps, design options, development, and preferred option selection.
So essentially, we kind of just went through that exercise now. So the idea is the design team will kind of tighten up the plan, elevations, and site plan based off of comments tonight, and that'll be where we go for that preferred option selection. And then next step, schematic design estimate. So in our design schedule that we produced for the the architect contract and RFQ process, we had that as the estimate happening tomorrow. So that unfortunately is getting pushed, but we have time in the design schedule to catch back up. So in the next few weeks, we'll go through that SD estimate process where our owner estimate happens, architect estimate happens, and then we'll set up a meeting to go through them, reconcile, and we'll provide you guys with all that feedback at the end of that. So final schematic design and elevations. So in the design schedule, we show that beginning of May, and we also have a placeholder for a public presentation. We have that currently at May 3rd. So if that works for the committee and you guys feel like it's a good thing to do at that point, we can present at that time what we have.
We have a selectmen's meeting that night.
Okay.
May 4th is the town meeting too, so.
Right.
Kind of cutting it close unless you want to.
So what do you think? So would you want to push it after those, or do you want to try to get it done before those?
I want to give enough time so
Okay.
it's done right.
Right.
Stop making haste, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just-
Yep.
There's no vote going on at town meeting for this project,
No.
right?
No,
So,
let's do this job
so
right.
selectmen's, so meeting before that is still relative, right?
What are you comfortable with time?
I could have these elevations modified, the plans modified as you asked for them tonight, and the estimate prepared so that, and depending upon the
I certainly don't,
reconciliation.
John, I don't certainly want to slam stuff together, take your time, so, you know, there's no mistakes made. A little more time prevents us later.
Don't tell these guys take your time because they'll jerk this around till they.
Oh my
Oh,
That
my.
was my plan.
I have no desire to drift you around. Let's just say
It's
that.
always gonna be one.
Hey, he's not getting
One
paid
in
by
the
the
draft.
hour.
That's why.
Right, so that May 3rd was just a placeholder, but whatever it takes for them to kind of have a presentable.
What do you think? for-
Well, the question I would have for you is, if we were to take, is that building elevation and these floor plans, with these changes, would you approve them going forward? We're not gonna, because if we are, then I'd like to get involved in doing a rendering based upon those elevations, because that'd be the best thing to show the townspeople, because they're not gonna read the 2D plans very well or anything. A nice rendering would do well. That would take more than May 3rd.
Yeah.
But, we could present 2D drawings like we have tonight, but I think it gets a little bit better when we have a little bit more time, we can do rendering.
I would hate to see a plan presented to a town meeting that we're gonna get and then we change it.
Right.
Then there's nothing but trouble later.
You find out you gotta cut
Well, is there
something
any
off. and it doesn't
We're,
look
we're
right.
not going for any new
Sure.
funding,
Sure.
so just don't put yourself on a wire that you're gonna beat the band here, no.
Right. Well, we got more than 2 weeks to the end of the month, so I got more than enough time to make these changes, get the estimate reconciled, and we would have final schematics 1st of May, so that's not a crunch.
So,
That's
what's the
not,
date?
What's that?
What's the date you want to do?
I
it?
think the selectmen's meeting was the 3rd, so present the final, well, do you want to, you want
I
us
was
to
just gonna
do it to
ask
the
that.
committee first?
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it probably makes more sense to have another meeting with you guys,
Yeah.
go through what they look like at that point,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
talk about public presentation. So why don't we just do that, and it'll be at that next meeting where we say, okay, well, let's plan for this date.
So 2 weeks would be the 27th if you like Thursday nights.
Okay, that'll be April 27th?
Yeah.
listen, is that enough time for everything? Are you gonna be comfortable with that, or are you just gonna?
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that.
We're okay with that. These aren't final working drawings, they're just, we're change these, alter these, fill in some of the blanks a little bit, but they're not gonna be appreciably different from this unless there's a change that you want us to make. A more significant
I
change.
think you heard the changes that
Yeah.
they asked for tonight.
Yeah, doors,
Happy
windows,
with
stuff
that.
like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Loft and everything
there's
that-
still some, there's still some time to take a good look at this,
Right,
right?
oh yeah,
I mean,
oh absolutely. There's 6 sets, or
Yeah,
Right, so
5
you,
sets.
you got
I won't be
5,
able to make that
and John can
27th
email you
meeting, but that's
PDFs.
okay.
Right.
You, so.
Wait, we got a spot for hanging hose?
Do you guys wanna meet
Yes,
before this
in the
to go
very
over the
back
plans, so
bay,
we can talk amongst ourselves?
We're gonna kick up the trusses, and we're gonna give you a taller area to hang a 25-foot, 50-foot hose, right?
Do you guys want a meeting to go over the plans?
Well, they're gonna be kind of tweaked a little bit, so.
Yeah.
But what he presented here, do you wanna go over those things? And then if there's any comments, we send them back before he comes back here.
Well, I mean, is that something you would be all right with? Maybe I bring our firefighters in to take a look at and have them take a peek.
Now's the
and then
time.
bring it
Yes.
back.
Now's the time to do
Rather
that.
than this
But-
committee.
I still would want this committee there, you can bring the fire committee members there. Or is everybody happy with the
Well,
plan?
I'm just saying, he's asking for us to come back as a full committee and take another look, but it
He's
seems
also
like
redesigning it a little bit.
we're at
way
the
we
point
talked
now where I
tonight.
think it's more functional, where maybe it would be more for the firefighters to take a peek and
Yeah.
see if there's any little tweaks. I mean, if you wanna be there, that's absolutely fine, I'm not saying we can't
You
have
could have a
committee,
meeting,
but-
now all of us have to go if you don't want.
Right.
Right.
What would you like to
So
do
when are
then,
you
Mike?
gonna set that up?
We could probably do it on a Wednesday night, so if the next meeting's the 27th, we'll try and do it.
Next Wednesday.
Well, yeah, maybe.
So ideally, that happens with enough time to
Would
get
that be the
whatever
ninth?
message you need to get to them.
Okay.
Right, so
And
he's
then
gonna be
they can-
redesigning these.
Is that gonna give you
tonight.
enough time between this, or are we pushing that to, you know what I mean?
And Mike, we have the, I don't think it makes a difference, but we have a select board public hearing that we're gonna go over all the town warrants on the 26th at Hopkins.
So we don't have nothing on there for a warrant though, right?
No, this committee does not, but I'm just saying there are some things on there for the fire.
So,
What are we buying
So
now?
we'll try and get the officers together, the
Well, we're
firefighters.
Do you wanna have the officers look at it after he comes, redoes what you want tonight?
No,
'Cause
no, no.
You've
I
already
mean,
changed stuff that's
no,
gonna be on
because he
those.
wants
Can
the
take you for a ride
information
in
so
the
he
car.
can
He
make
wants
the
to do
change.
it,
Right.
do it
No, I
once.
did come
and-
down.
Yeah, do it once. So I'll,
Go
let's see
for a
if
ride.
we can
That's better to see.
get the firefighters to come through, even if they have to come
Money
through
well
without a
spent.
meeting. You
Yeah.
know, they
All
can
look
test,
at it,
Look
yeah,
like
and we can write some notes down.
The change.
So so if we have stuff to you
Used to do
by
things
the end of
now
next
it's-
week, because it's a short week because we have the holiday, is that enough time, or?
End of next week would be enough as long as it's not a global change.
Yeah. No.
So you,
Maybe a door or a window or kind of slide stuff around.
So what are you looking at for us to come back the following week?
That's up to you. So following, you were talking about the 27th.
Yeah. So if the Wednesday before that was the 19th,
yes.
then you get to us something on the 20th maybe? That'd be fine.
Wait, we could do you on the
Listen,
27th.
Mike, we don't.
If there's something that they wanna
But we
tweak.
can-
Yeah, but they would give
Stop and
me
go
the
in the
result
office.
of their review on the
Doesn't have to be
20th.
till
Gives me a
Wednesday,
week
do it
to the
sooner.
27th to make the changes.
you're gonna have your review for
Or-
the 20th?
On the 19th.
We're gonna try and have it for the 19th. What we're gonna do is we'll call for a meeting next Wednesday.
Okay.
And then we'll also have it in the office starting next Tuesday. So if you wanna
So
come
why
in
don't we
Tuesday.
push this back from the 27th, so it gives you adequate time, adequate comments on that, and to submit to him?
That's fine, I'm just saying we can do it. If-
Yeah, you can't give it to him the 27th and he wants to.
No, we have it to them by the 29th.
But I thought he was saying,
You sure you can? Or not?
What do you think, Ricky? Do you think everybody would be good if we met
Yeah,
next
like I
week?
said, so
I
a
don't
window
see
or a
us,
door.
it's not that difficult of a building to look at.
All right, all right.
That'll be fine.
So
Like I
you're
said,
gonna have,
they're not building off of that.
Right,
so
and
it's-
believe me, between now and the end of the construction period, or
It's
the
gonna move
design
around.
period, there's still gonna be some tweaks.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody would hold that against you, for the town.
Okay, Mike, so that's a firm date on
hope
the
you don't know
19th.
this committee, pal.
Firm date on the 19th.
The next meeting for this group would be the 27th.
Right,
The
right.
firefighters would be meeting on whatever the Wednesday before that is.
Right, that's the
Which would be
19th.
the 18th, I think, right?
19th.
19th.
and that meeting will be conducted here, the 27th? Okay with everybody?
I'll check
So we're here,
I'll
but-
check the schedule and make sure it's open, but yeah, that'll be the last meeting that we'll be able to have in here.
What is that?
Because this is gonna become the temporary locker room for the fire, police department, because their locker rooms need to be repaired. So this room will be off limits after the 27th.
All
So
right.
we'll have to find a different home.
All right, so if there's a conflict there, just, you're gonna check that out, we'll
Yep.
book at the town hall?
Yep.
All right? Okay, so 27. All right, I guess we're done with all our business tonight, huh?
I have a couple quick questions.
Go ahead.
Did you want is there a truck fill inside the apparatus base?
Yes.
We have multiple, we have two, but for this,
Be nice
yeah.
if you were
It'd be
bigger.
nice.
The bigger dome.
Truck fill, and then we have
Because
air
we have
line.
1 inch right now.
We
Air
have-
chucks
I
to
think we have two
keep the air
inch.
pressure.
Yeah,
up.
well, my next question was air compressor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you want a compression there too. And then, of course, your choice of fuel, we started on this before, but do you want interior diesel tanks or exterior propane tanks?
I personally think propane would be better, that's my opinion.
I do too. You're gonna get more efficient equipment.
Yeah, easier to maintain too.
what's more costly to run
Costly to run.
in the long?
I would say propane is a little bit more, not exceptionally more, but a little bit more costly to run propane.
But you got a lot more maintenance with oil.
Yeah.
You don't get the efficiency with oil.
And the cooling, is that by
That's-
propane or is that
No,
by
that's-
electric?
That's electric.
Okay. So
Your
what does
furnace-
everybody think about that?
Is there gonna be
Furnace would
redundancy,
Your
where,
furnace would be,
like 2 wall hungs or something like that, redundant boilers? Instead of just
well,
relying on one
Well,
unit?
we're gonna go through the cost. You don't know yet if we're gonna do hydro air or something else. I'm waiting for a recommendation from the mechanical engineer.
that's gonna be a gas furnace supplying the water
For the domestic?
for the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the
Well, I
floor.
guess the question is are you asking us to design this for
Well, you can do both.
radiant
You can do both
do
with
both.
the
hydronic
radiant,
system, right?
with the hydronic system.
Because
You
we
can do an air handler.
have the slab, okay.
Okay, the slab, and then you
Yeah,
can use an
boilers.
air handler for your combination heating and air conditioning.
Right.
Okay, so we'll start investigating basically a hydro air system,
Yeah.
working off propane and DX cooling,
Yeah, like-
expansion cooling.
Like here, we had one boiler originally, we've switched now, we've got 2 night occupiers down there. So one will actually carry the building if one goes out.
Are we, before we make our decision totally on that, are we gonna do cost analysis? What it's gonna cost versus a home unit or whatever?
Yeah, we're going to, well, actually, since we've
Compare
already
it to
decided,
something else?
since we've already decided to put the radiant system in the base bid, then we're not gonna be pricing anything else, that's the base bid.
Right.
Right.
And then, as far as, we'll be asking the experience of our mechanical engineer to price the different, to understand the different systems that are possible with a boiler system, and make a recommendation based upon cost effectiveness, and then we'll describe that to you. But I'm not necessarily gonna have 3 costs for 3 different separate mechanical systems. The last question I had is, does everybody have a signed contract for us?
No, town council, that's a me question, town council. I meant to tell you that. It's still in
That's
town
almost
council.
like asking for a check.
Wait a minute, what does he want? I didn't.
So,
He wants a written
the
contract.
the owner, architect contracts are currently still in town council's hands, being reviewed. I found that
Talk to her,
out.
she's selectman.
I found that out,
He is too.
Why, when it comes to
Defer
crap,
to
you
you,
blame them?
as soon as I get them, you'll have it.
Okay,
You
sorry.
have seniority.
Thanks, Dal.
Alright, Joyce will have an answer to that.
Okay.
Right, Joyce?
Absolutely.
That girl.
And the other thing we should be putting our minds to is, what is the permitting schedule? When do we want to get in front of historical? When do we want to get in front of Concom? When do we want to get in front of planning so we can, tailor our progress so we hit those dates?
Who's got to be first?
Well,
The problem is that conservation.
I've done
everybody-
Concom and planning together. I don't know if that's the way we want to do it, but I've done it before.
But they're all gonna look at, they need to look at a plan.
Yes.
If you don't have that plan, then there's no sense.
No, we're looking down the road.
Yeah.
I know they don't meet every day of the week, so we need to know what their schedule is, and then when is the most advisable dates for us to get to those meetings? And is it advisable for us to go there early and have it
He's the
informal?
planning.
I would really
Planning board.
prefer that historic is first, Concom, and then the planning.
But couldn't they go in, that you have that 15-minute window on the planning board that they could go in and present the plans and then
Informal.
But
informal?
it's gonna go to,
Oh, I know, but I
We're gonna
mean-
send them there anyway, so they might as well just go there.
So maybe something like late May, early June, or
Yeah, I would say,
I think the
What's the
historic
schedule?
commission and Concom
we'll
are
go
usually.
You're the response.
so.
I know, but I mean,
December
but they're
is when they hit the
sporadic
streets.
meetings.
That's
we
a
can't-
month.
I know,
can't
but
hit
that's
planning
why they
before
should
we
go.
We know when the
to
next
first.
one's
That's the
scheduled,
reason.
we figured out.
So we're gonna hit
Oh,
planning.
they meet
And Concom
Once a month,
sometime
twice a month?
before that.
Once,
Oh, so, okay.
or as needed.
So it's
Well, then you better
for,
tell them, for May, what time, when in May?
Preliminary meeting. We can move dates up. for-
Can you shoot?
Are you guys gonna contact the historic and the Concom
Yes.
to see what their
Concom will
schedules
do that.
are
So we were just saying, so, you know, the design schedule has us starting bid phase around early September. So it's gonna be somewhere prior to that, directly prior to that, where we'll deal with planning on final approval from them. And con would be right before that, but historic would be sometime in June/July.
We would like to be before we would like to be at planning probably about a month before the bid date, because go to planning, we don't know if we're gonna get through the first meeting.
Right.
You know, you could always get pushed off, and we don't wanna have approval still pending when we're going out to bid.
Right.
And plus, there's an appeal period, but, you know, that almost never gets used, but maybe in your town it does. So,
It helps to have people on the board.
All right, so you guys, you're gonna take care of that with this.
Yeah,
Small
yes.
town.
And I think at the end of next week, meeting tomorrow, I swear.
Is there anything else that anybody wants to talk about pertinent to this project?
Oh,
I know you like to say a lot of things, that's all.
So are you.
Excuse me?
So you was
historic in June, Concom in July, and planning in August.
Is there any subjects you wanna talk for next meeting?
If you call town hall, either the clerk or the town administrator, they can tell you when they meet.
Okay. It's not on the website?
Well, it's like sporadic, and I think they do post them with the clerk.
Conservation
And
is the same. Yeah.
sometimes in the summer, there's
She's in there on
also a
Tuesdays
gap.
during the
They
day.
do some
Vacation.
skipping, yeah.
11 o'clock in the morning Tuesday, comes in the town hall. Janet Stone.
Mhm.
We'll talk to her.
Historical, you never know
So they call this name.
Ginger
Oh, yeah,
Bolt.
this actually
Is-
is some dates already.
Are we all done with our business here today?
I make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion made to adjourn. There's a second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.